What's up, everybody? Today on Auto Joe, we're driving this Mazda Mazda3 hatchback. Of course, is the 2.5 liter turbo trim, so it's going to be quite exciting to get this thing out on the road. We got some paddle shifters, 6-speed automatic, and of course this car was brought to us by First International Auto Group out of Merrimack, New Hampshire, so big thanks to them. While we're heading out of the outlets, let's talk about this exterior. So of course this Mazda 3 comes in a hatchback model and a sedan model. Truth be told, I don't love the dimensions of this thing, especially the side profile, but I do think that this car looks good in this jet black mica color. It has this like weird pearlescent effect in the paint, which is really cool up close in the sunlight, and it goes pretty good with these black rims. Interior wise, we have these grayish leatherette seats. Yes, they are called grayish because they are gray and beige combined into one pretty decent looking seat. Especially, I'm hoping that these ones will not get stained over time, but with this car having above 70,000 miles, pretty good so far. This Mazda 3 is quite well equipped. We have leatherette seats, which are heated and powered. We also have the ability to adjust our steering wheel, and it's telescopic. We have wired Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. I do wish it was wireless just for the convenience factor of leaving your phone in your pocket, but in my personal experience, wired setups work a lot better long term. We also do have navigation if you are one of the rare people in this world that don't own a smartphone. Blind spot monitoring is already coming into play. And this turbo 4-cylinder is really quiet with the windows up. I will say on the outside it has a little bit of an exhaust note that's almost like a growl. So putting it into manual mode, you can control the gears with your paddle shifters. The paddles are pretty responsive on the downshift, probably about the same as you get with a Volkswagen GTI DSG, but not as responsive as that of like an Elantra N or even my Elantra N line. You might be able to see it here, but we also have a heads-up display just displaying our current speed. We have lane keep assist and of course blind spot monitoring, which I had mentioned before. Lane keep assist is turned off with just the press of a button over here. Pretty easy to spot and very convenient that it's a button instead of something hidden inside your infotainment screen. So this thing is actually pretty squirrely at low speeds. You get a lot of load on those front tires with 227 horsepower and 270 pound-feet of torque with 87 regular gas. But if you put 93 in this car, it is able to run a little more boost, kicking those numbers up to 250 horsepower and 280 pound-feet of torque. Currently, I have premium gas in here. I actually just did a little bit of a fill up before starting this video. And yeah, I will say that the power is pretty good in here. When hard accelerating too, I will say that there's a little bit of a drop off in that torque band where you feel power kind of just be completely lost. And it's not even in between shifts. It's right around 4,000 or 5,000 RPMs. And it just kind of feels like you are not moving. And then once it upshifts and you are down in the lower end of the power band, you feel that torque once again. It's just a really bizarre sensation that I haven't really experienced in many cars. Regarding interior quality, I feel like this Mazda 3 is very well put together. Even with 70,000 miles on the odometer, there's not a single creak or rattle. And really the only hard plastic you get in here is the top of the door cards here and the top of the dash. Even the majority of the door cards are this like stitched leatherette, which looks pretty good. We also have Bose speakers in here, which you can see their logo on those door cards as well. HVAC controls and your heated seats, and to control your radio, it's all physical. I will say, to control your infotainment screen, it's not touch. You actually have to use this little scroll wheel down here, which if you are getting out of a BMW, you're going to be very familiar with how to activate a screen like that. Overall ride quality is pretty great. We will leave the harsh road test to the worst road in Merrimack, New Hampshire coming up, but overall this thing rides really smooth. You don't feel many road imperfections through the steering wheel, but you do have overall good steering feel. You really know where your wheels are pointed. The steering wheel itself is just this perfect round shape with all the buttons you might need, such as your adaptive cruise control, your volume control, and of course the ability to skip track and change your source. With the steering wheel being leather and your shifter being a nicer material as well, I think Mazda made the right choice of putting the money where people are touching in a car like this. The 6-speed automatic, I will also say, is a little slow in the shifting. I drive a lot of these, mid-level eco cars, which are, kind of performance oriented a little bit, such as my Elantra N-Line or this Mazda 3 or the Volkswagen GTI. And if you don't have a dual clutch, you're kind of missing the game as far as some of the other cars in the market. All right, so we're at the worst road in Merrimack, New Hampshire. Let's approach it at 20 miles an hour. See how this thing handles the bumps. Very softly sprung. Even with the short wheelbase, this thing just eats up harsh road imperfections. I'm very impressed with the ride quality, even with how low this thing sits. Sound deadening in here is really good too. I'm actually very impressed with how quiet it is in this interior. Even at highway speeds, you can have a conversation at low volume, play your podcast and listen to that no problem as well. So when I mentioned this thing has a weird shape to it, it does. Looking at it dead on right in the front is probably the best looking it gets. If you look at towards the side profile, you'll see that this thing kind of has a little bit of a duck bill, but it does lend itself to some good fuel economy numbers, which I do appreciate, especially considering we have a powerful 2.5 liter turbocharged 4-cylinder in here. This specific Mazda 3 Turbo also is all-wheel drive only. You can't get front-wheel drive with this specific trim. When you're shopping in the low to mid $30,000 price range, definitely consider these Mazda 3 hatchbacks. There's plenty of room in the hatch, seats fold down, giving you access to the cabin, and of course, this thing is quite well equipped. We have Bose audio system, we have 2 memory seats, 2 memory settings for our front seat. We have powered front driver and passenger seats along with heat. This grayish leatherette pairs really well with the black that coats the rest of the interior. And overall, it's a very pleasant place to be inside this Mazda 3 hatch. Although I'm very impressed with this car, I will say that I'm not personally interested in buying one of these, mostly because of the looks. Mazda does a really good job at continuing its design language throughout all of the models, whether it be the Mazda Miata, the CX-50, CX-5, CX-70, CX-90. I mean, all of them, right? They kind of all have this same front end. I think the Miata is the most unique out of the bunch. But I personally just don't really like how they look. The front end itself isn't all that problematic. It's really just the dimensions of this car as a whole. It has this little duckbill to it, and then the rest of it is shaped like a beetle. I think it's particularly off-putting. Some people might find this car attractive. Of course, looks are entirely subjective. Some people might call me ugly, but my mom says I'm the most handsome boy, right? That's just kind of how things go. But if you can get past the looks or you like them, you will be right at home in this interior. I would say the one thing that I am a little compromised on is my driver's position, just with when it comes to where my legs sit. This right here, along with the extension of the door card that has your window switches on it, kind of cramps you as far as legroom. But if you're a little shorter than me, or you kind of have just a smaller overall footprint, I'm a little heavier of a frame here, you will fit in this car no problem. I just think on long road trips it might be a little squished in here, especially if you have more than 2 passengers. But with heated seats, heated steering wheel, Apple CarPlay, all the safety features such as blind spot monitoring and lane keep assist and adaptive cruise control, you really do have yourself a good road trip car. With that being said, thank you all for watching. Don't forget to like, don't forget to subscribe, and I will see you all next time on Auto Joe. Bye-bye.